Okay, guys, gonna spend a few minutes talking about the deadlift as promised. So let's get it started. What I'm gonna do is walk through kind of my pre-flight check for the deadlift, mental preparation, approaching the bar, addressing and setup, um, starting the lift, cycling reps, um, talk through that process, and then show the lift at full speed so you can kind of keep that in mind as you watch. Um, this video starts a little bit later than I'd like it to. One of the things that actually, first off, I know this is a 3 rep set at 85%, so pretty heavy, pretty high intensity effort here. So what I've done is mentally prepared, mentally convinced myself that I will make this lift. And what I'm going to do is follow the same motions I do, whether it's 50% or 85%, so that I do it the same way every time, so I'm set up to succeed. So at this point, I've convinced myself that I will make these lifts, and now I'm approaching the bar. The next step after mentally preparing myself for the lift is to get my breath right. So by doing that, I exhale fully through my mouth, beginning with the belly and finishing with the chest. Then inhale deeply through my nose, filling the belly, then the chest. I wear a nice, big, thick, heavy belt, but a lot of our athletes don't. So what I've really tried to focus on when I've been coaching the deadlift or the clean or anything is to fill that belly, fill the chest to provide maximum support. So next, I'm addressing the bar. Hip width, or even slightly more narrow than hip width. My knees like to go out, so I like to give them a little more room to work. Um, so that's pretty simple there on the stance. The next thing I do is something I've picked up over the last few months, which has been really, really helpful to me. So, one of the biggest things we see in deadlifts, one of the biggest faults is the rounding of the back. So there's a ton of cues that we use to try and get that back nice and tight. Get tight to me is a poor cue because it's kind of ambiguous. What does it mean? How do I get tight? Where do I tighten up? Um, so I try to keep people focused on a few certain points that'll maximize their success. So what's helped me here is what I've done is actually externally rotated my shoulders, screwed them down into place, and flexed my lats at the same time. I like to tell athletes it's almost as if you're going to perform a ring row or a pull up. You're getting your back nice and tight. So what I've done is externally rotate the shoulders, squeeze the lats, and you'll notice when I tip over, my hands have to turn to grip the bar, but I'm still keeping that tension, still keeping those shoulders in place. The nice thing about this is, you can coach it with them standing upright to just get that feeling. When they get that feeling, then they can translate it into the lift. So shoulders nice and tight. I'm going to tip and grip the bar. I'm not using a hook grip in this instance because I am using the switch grip. So I've gripped the bar nice and tight, and then you'll notice I've straightened up my legs, kind of torqued a little bit a couple of times. What I'm doing there is gaining awareness of my hamstrings, getting nice and tight in the glutes and the hamstrings. That little torque allows me to set them, and then even when I get in position, they're nice and tight. So in this case, I re-grip a couple of times, which I typically don't do because it's a long time to hold the breath. So a little breath had to come out, but before I lift, I'm always resetting that breath as big as I can. All right, here we go. So now I've done my little twerk, set my hamstrings, and I'm starting the lift. To me, this is crucial, and I always cue athletes before they set up to the bar now. My favorite cue for this is push the floor away with your feet. You guys may have heard this before, may not, but this has been really helpful to me mentally to keep the focus on my hamstrings and my glutes as opposed to trying to pull the bar up and losing my back. So I've kept my back tight. My arms are just ropes at this point, but I'm trying to push the floor away with my feet while slightly leaning back to keep that weight in my heels. I'm trying to keep my entire foot on the floor at this point. So now I'm going to push the floor away. This breaks the bar off the floor, gets it up. One thing you'll notice here is my leg straightened out a little bit too soon. This is another flaw. This is kind of one of those next level cues is you need to maintain that slight bend in the knee so you can fully engage the hips and the glutes to finish this lift. Didn't quite do it here, so that's something else to look for when coaching the deadlift. but I was able to pull it up, finish that lift. Now, this is the next cue that I use for athletes because a lot of times, we see the Romanian deadlift going down into in when we're cycling deadlift reps. So what I tell people to do is start the descent with the butt and pretend like you're sitting in a chair. So the butt comes down, I set my angle. It's basically a reversal of the rep up. So now we'll go into the next rep, pushing the foot away. This one I kept that angle a little bit better. This allows me to engage the hamstrings and the hips more and drive into finishing the lift. Moving along here, one thing I coach when we're warming up for the deadlift is when athletes get to this point, I try to tell them to really fire through the end of the lift, even if it's just a bar or maybe 135 pounds. But do that at lightweight. It will cut that path in the grass so you know that when you get to heavyweight, your body's ready to react and fire into the bar to finish the lift. So then we'll go into the third lift, sitting in the chair, knees are out a little bit, pressing the floor away. Still have a nice angle in my knees, slight angle in the hips. Really drive through to finish the lift. Lock it out. All right, there we go. And even on the last one, I try to set it down with control because this is a strength set. If it were in a WOD, I'd probably drop it. And there we go. That's our lift. So again, just to walk through the process really quickly, mentally prepare. Make sure you convince yourself that you will hit the lift and be successful. Next step before you approach the bar, breathe out as much as you can. Breathe in through the belly to support your body as much as possible. Step up to a bar with a hip width stance or slightly more narrow. Screw in your shoulders. Set those lats nice and flexed. Tip, jam the thumb joint into the bar to get as strong a grip as you possibly can. If you're cycling double overhand reps, use the hook grip. Give that little twerk to set the hamstrings and the glutes. Once that's set, press the floor away with your feet while maintaining tension in your back. Keep that little angle at the knees. When the bar passes the knees, really drive the hips into the bar to finish the lift. If you're going to cycle the lift and doing multiple reps, initiate the movement with the butt and pretend like you're sitting in a chair and then cycle through the reps. So what I'll do now is I'll go ahead and play this at full speed so you can watch. Hopefully, think about some of these things that I said and kind of watch it, and hopefully it helps you out a little bit. All right, thanks guys. We'll see you soon.